Yo, Giant, let's go!
A few months back now, I reviewed an indie number called Windswept with the Giant Bento Squad, which was a nice little throwback to the platformers of the golden era for that genre. I was surprised when the publisher Top Hat Studios reached out to me for it, but I was overall pleased with my time on that game, and so was the rest of the squad. Imagine my surprise then when they recently reached out to me again with another game they were putting out called Under the Island, and this one is another retro throwback, but what I was taken by was the fact that at a glance, another inspiration appeared for this game that appealed to me specifically, The Legend of Zelda. So naturally I said yes, and here we are. Shout out to Top Hat Studios and the developer Slime King Games for giving me a copy of the game. And we're just gonna go ahead and throw up a spoiler warning here. As of recording, the game's already been out for a little bit. I'm the late one here, but still, I don't want to cause any problems for anybody looking forward to it. So, I mean, if you are, come back later, we can talk about it. But as it is, you've been warned. Now let's go ahead and take a look at Under the Island. We start this journey in the shoes of Nia, a young girl moving to Koala Village on the small seashell island with her parents due to their work. And while she initially seems so unimpressed with leaving behind city life for a year of tropical life, things get interesting very fast. She meets Avocado, a girl working as a village guide who begins showing her around. But when she shows Nia a shrine that she emphasizes shouldn't be touched under any circumstance, much like any rebellious teen, they end up finding a secret underground area where they meet an old bird guy who claims to be the last of an ancient race that has been living here since, well, forever. Come to find out, the entire island itself is actually a great big ship where these people stayed, and some time ago, someone stole 4 special gears that helped keep the whole thing stable. And now that they're gone, the entire island is in danger of... That's obviously not great, so with this bird entity's insistence that them showing up means that they're destined to help, Nia immediately agrees to help, much to Avocado's chagrin. Birdman here offers up a sword to use for her adventure, but the "it's dangerous to go alone, take this" moment is immediately undercut when you find a note saying, by the way, I stole the sword, my bad, but I left you this, and you're given a hockey stick. Neat. Thus, you set out to retrieve these gears and save the island. Right away, I started getting washed over with a nostalgia that's hard to describe. The most obvious inspiration here is Zelda, but while most people might immediately default to thinking first of something in the realm of A Link to the Past, I was instead reminded of something like the Minish Cap. More so than that, I was getting a strong Game Boy Advance era feeling of Nintendo games looking at this. There's also elements of GBA era Pokemon. For one, starting with the bit about being a baseball cap wearing kid moving to a new city with their family, and much like Ruby and Sapphire and Emerald, both parents are around for this one. Very early on, you're given a pair of running shoes, and right away, that's a cute reference, but I much would have preferred something akin to the Pegasus boots. We still technically have a faster movement option, but it's not fast enough for me. I spent the large majority of my time here with my finger glued to the run button, wishing I could pick up the pace a bit. Somewhere along the line, I found an item that enabled a running slide attack, which I started spamming while I was running around, and funnily enough, this just made me think of spamming rolls in pretty much every 3D Zelda game pre-Switch, so that's a weird meta payoff that ultimately made this criticism a lot softer in my mind. I got away from it a bit, but back to the vibe of this game. The pixel art is really nice in this game. It animates smoothly with a level of detail that I really appreciate. It's one thing to have a place named Koala Village, but when I was walking around, I saw a koala pop out of a tree and I couldn't help but go, that's actually cute as fuck. I also noticed at times that certain characters like this ramen shop lady actually turn their head, tracking you as you walk past them, and that's a level of detail that I wouldn't think is totally necessary, to the point that I wouldn't have cared if they didn't do that, but they did, and I find it impressive. I really like the music in this game too. There's a lot of tropical flavors in the musical aesthetic, but it's not one note. There's a lot of greenery in the basic areas, but then you'll find a deep forest area complete with a haunted section later on that was honestly kind of frustrating, but I'll come back to that. Seashell Island has tons of beachfront property, a desert, mountain ranges, honestly a lot of scenic variety for one island, and as I explored, soaking in this retroness, the dialogue gave me old Saturday morning cartoon vibes. Nothing especially deep, but enjoyable nonetheless, seeing how it definitely gives off a lived-in space where not everything is interconnected, but it all still feels alive. Some things you do as you progress does also make waves in the world though, seeing opportunities for accessing later areas after interacting with side activity, and you'll often come across characters like Peter P, who works at the Island Bugle reporting on current news, and now with this reference in mind, I'm over here on my J. Jonah talking about, Parker, what are you doing? Get me pictures of Spider-Man! Sorry, lost myself for a second. Most of my enjoyment came from the world and its inhabitants, but that is not to say that there was nothing else in it for me. Given its inspiration, this is very much a Zelda game, as I've said a couple of times. If you played any of those, you know what to expect here. Structurally though, there's enough of a shake-up here that Under the Island doesn't ever really feel stale. One instance being the aforementioned introduction of a faster movement mechanic early on. Another is that you're pretty much immediately made aware of a shop where you can upgrade your items at the cost of materials dropped by enemies and found in chests all throughout the game, almost as some kind of crafting light system. More typically of traditional Zelda games, aside from after beating bosses, you would just find heart containers scattered throughout. But in a more Breath of the Wild inspired choice, you collect these heart coins in greater numbers that you spend with this dude literally named M. Ussel to upgrade your health. You still get them from bosses in game, so to speak, but given that the game centers around 4 main MacGuffins, the places that would be akin to temples or dungeons in Zelda are far more sparse, almost like in later games like Breath of the Wild or Tears of the Kingdom. And they're set up in a way that honestly didn't clock to me until I was halfway through the first one. I remember being asked to go to one section of the island where there was a situation happening at a greenhouse or something like that. Then I went there and caught myself solving puzzles and shit before I was like, wait a minute, I'm in a dungeon. That was pretty cool, honestly. And given how this played out in a way that I both did and didn't expect to play it, it was also appreciated that some of the so-called bosses were more just challenging scenarios that you had to play through. In this greenhouse one in particular, where you're interacting with these plant people, you cap off this dungeon by helping a performer prep for going on stage, and then you have to fight off waves of fans trying to crash the party from backstage. That was an interesting setup. It truly felt a little more unique than the standard, and while there are a couple of bosses that are more traditional, there's one that is really just there to give you a fight quota after you already finished your dungeon, because it's one where you go through a trek to train under a chef to prepare for a cooking competition where one of those mythical gears is the prize. You end up going through this section in a puzzle platformer type beat with Avocado in tow because she wants to train under the chef as well. This part in particular ended up reminding me of the side quest in Majora's Mask where you help Cafe infiltrate the thieves' hideout to get his mask back. You get through this and have a cute interaction with the girls where Nia talks about missing home, contrasted with Avocado's wishes to travel and learn things that will enable her to come back to the island and enrich her own home. It's a moment that's kind of one and done, but it's pretty standout in a plot that isn't especially strong in the way of connective threads. The game is largely a point A and B deal, which is why I previously said I got a ton of enjoyment from the characters in this lived-in world. All the same, there's no singular interaction that I didn't find enjoyable, but I digress. Avocado concedes that Nia should be the one to undergo the cooking competition, so the boss of this part ends up being a quick game of Overcooked. Again, different, unexpected, and kind of unique in this setup. But then you end up fighting a King Slime, cause King Slime games, I guess. All that in consideration, I wish that there was more because the game isn't very long in comparison to its contemporaries. It's barely around a 10-hour game, give or take a couple hours here and there for exploration. While I feel like there was more that could have been done with this game, I also acknowledge that I feel that way because I was actually having a great time. And for $20, I can't help but feel like that's a great price for this type of game. Under the Island is a good game that wears its inspirations on its sleeve and mixes it up enough to provide a short and sweet adventure that got me a little worked up for some future plans because, not to give away the ghost, I've been planning to start getting into making videos for some Zelda games for a little while now. Under the Island is available on all the main platforms that you'd expect, and I recommend it to anybody looking to scratch that itch. Once more, thank you to Slime King Games and Top Hat Studios for providing me with a copy of this game. We're 2 for 2 out of this house, and I'm very appreciative of the opportunity to check out the game. That's all the time I've got for today though, so before I wrap up, thank you all for taking the time to check out this video. If you enjoyed it, be sure to like the video and subscribe. We've got a lot more things coming soon that you might want to stick around for. Shout out to my patrons too. If you want to support the works we do here, be sure to check out the One Sleepy Giant Patreon. Everyone's welcome in Sleepy City. Until next time, my name is Hector and I am One Sleepy Giant. I'm gonna get back to y'all soon with updates on what to expect, but before that, I'm gonna catch a nap. So I'll talk to you soon, okay? Take care, everybody.